Now, now we begin to see. Your analysis is in general quite correct. This is the end point that we saw coming. Now, I understand this unit. This unit has a vital concern being, as it were, in a place that tends to cause leadership, good or bad. Many beings, and in fact, the energy of the planet, tend to trot along in the wake of whatever direction is happening here. And because of recent events, there has been such a breaking up of international alliances and plans and relationships that many things are very dependent on the activities here. By the same token, if there is expanded, extreme, regressive mentality and functioning, there is, as you have seen, expanded and aggressive response in counterbalancing that, as if beings who have been quiescent and asleep and allowing for such a long time have been suddenly awakened to the immediacy and the urgency and the reality that nothing you have remains yours without constant effort. And this is true in anything. Your spiritual gifts will fade if you do not use them. Your intellect will die down if you do not exercise it. The knowledge you have will drift away if you do not remind yourself of it by reusing it and researching it and feeding it. Yes? Emotional stability will change if you do not have the opportunity to exchange emotional life with other beings or with pets or some such thing. And your physical body, you know this, yes. Both of you, you know this, yes. Both of you, the physical embodiment, of course, there are decreases over time, but the degree to which you work with it, it will affect how it survives and continues on. Yes, whether it's a question of physical activity or what you put into it or what comes out of it, etc. Yes, this is all related. So this is a pattern, a universal pattern. That which you wish to have continue over time must constantly be renewed. Yes? Okay. So, in this, your analysis of the situation was correct. Right at this moment, this unit's deepest concern is, to be honest, the fear response that is generated from all directions. There is the fear response that the regressive parties are trying to. The forces of regression, as you know, are feeding off of the fear they are creating. And it is the fear that is feeding the hatred, the distrust, the need to put confidence in forces that are repressive and not in the spirit of the political democracy that was ideally created and never ideally came to fruition, but as far as it was, yes? And that fear, even though it is being driven and fed upon by the forces of regression, cannot help but spill over into the forces are surrounded now by the fear generated anger and hatred of the regressive forces. And as you know, fear causes an echo response of fear. Yes?
Yeah.
That is the nature of the animal called fear. Yes? It is like a tuning fork, which when it hits, sets out sympathetic vibrations in anything it touches or comes near. The degree to which it excites fear in the being depends on how much fear there is there waiting to be ignited. Yes? And so your policy, which was stated as not feeding, not giving any energy to certain things, is in a way another way of saying, I am not going to respond to this fear energy.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is less about what you are or are not giving and more about what you have put a wall down between yourself and the things that are coming after you. But the concept is essentially the same. Yes?
Yeah.
So for this unit, all we can say in terms of general advice is similar, which is do not let that energy pass to your guard. Do not respond to it. You may not feel that you can battle it. You may not feel that you individually have the power to do anything about it beyond certain limitations, but you can maintain a clear view of the nature of the universe, of progression, and it is inevitable. You see, you will always have things that move forward. Sometimes the reaction to forward motion is to take a number of steps back. Yes, this is well known. Yes. It is possible sometimes that if the progression is perceived by some individuals as being too far ahead, the effort is then to drag it back all the way, not just a few steps, but as far back as they can go. And that is what is happening now. But progression cannot be undone past a certain point. And so as much as they want to cause this massive regression, it is simply not possible for them to do it all the way. Now, in practical terms, what does that mean for the events terms? What does that mean for the events that are coming up in this particular land space where this unit resides? There is never a certain answer, as you know, especially in a situation like this, which is so volatile. Here is what we can say that is absolutely true. It will not go backwards the entire way, which means that at some point it is possible that one force or another force of the regressive beings will triumph, but enough balance will be accomplished to at least keep it from going all the way back. Now, this unit is immediately thinking of this judicial body, nation state. The judicial body situation will be grave for the forces of progression, but not completely beyond repair. And that will, however, take some time. There is also another element which has not been considered by the forces of progression, which is the simple fact that some beings will stand up against all of these official forces and say, no, I refuse to cooperate. This is to say, in a situation where this judicial body makes a decision which is contrary to certain essential progressive actions, there will be individual responses which will basically find a way around that decision and stand in, and there will be nothing they can do about it. So, again, this unit is asking questions in her own mind specific to the political situation. There will be an example, therefore, given. It is not impossible that the major villain, as it were, in this piece will be restored to his position. That is still possible. However, in that event, the the other legislative bodies that are involved will have gone so far over to the progressive side that they will be able to stop him in his tracks, and overturn virtually everything he wants to do. There is also the possibility that should that occur exactly that way with an individual who has committed so many accidental and deliberate errors, there are actions that can be taken. And in the eventuality that other legislative bodies have gone so far over to the progressive side, they can take action which was not completed in previous years. There are options, and there will be battle. It will be an embattled time, but it is a battle, as you said, that must be fought. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
A battle which must be fought by individuals who, up until they experience directly the effects of certain things, they simply refuse to believe. So here's what we know. All of the beings who live in areas that have been hit repeatedly by one hurricane or storm after another in the same areas, no matter what they wanted to believe, have now begun to accept that there is such a thing as climate change. And boy, oh boy, are we in the middle. The same is true for those beings who are experiencing many, many fires which they cannot put out, and beings who are experiencing extreme heat, an extreme cold beyond what they've ever experienced, and in many cases beyond what humans are supposed to survive.
Yeah.
This is happening. And as they are facing these inevitabilities, even when they don't want to believe, they are forced to recognize that something exists. The next step is for them to recognize that whether they want to believe that they are at fault or not, they must take some action. You see, the trick is not to find out who's to blame. That is the part that gets everyone so very upset. The trick is to say, how to fix it? I don't care how it started. What do we do now? The answer is essentially the same who was responsible, but that's not the approach. Because human beings, or whatever, very protective of, unless they are forced to, because they usually define themselves by whatever that truth or belief is. And we have spoken of this before. What is the most difficult thing when it comes to individual change is accepting that you have to surrender some of your truth. Yes, you have to surrender who you think you are, or what, and rebuild your own identity. And in that process, you may have to accept that for a very long time, you stop, or your ideas were mistaken, or your definition of yourself is something which now you realize is accepted. That's a very difficult position to be.
Yeah.
Everyone on this planet, even those who have always been, you might say, on the side of the angels, have all experienced this to one degree or another in each lifetime. Because it is one of those to one degree or another in each lifetime. Because it is one of those experiences which must be re-experienced in each lifetime to make it tangible. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that is a process. It can never happen overnight. It cannot happen quickly. It simply cannot. So is there prolonged suffering? Yes. Is there prolonged battling? Yes. Will there be mistakes made by both sides in how they conduct themselves in this battle? Yes. Will there be losses? Yes. Will there be some successes? Yes. Will there be people who are forced to re-examine their truth and change their mind? Absolutely, yes. Illness which is currently spreading and the subsequent illnesses which will come from it are going to be in no small part, significant role in that process. Now, we can confirm that this is never going to actually end, because as soon as some protection for this particular strain is discovered and issued, it will quickly evolve, as they do, to something else, and it will come back. And this will happen so often that it will force an international response. And right now, there's not a great deal of international cooperation. But when you are beginning to lose massive numbers of your population, even dictatorships are forced to think, because here is the logical progression. You begin to lose to passing over large numbers of people. Many of those people are low-class workers, but they do perform necessary functions. In addition, you are losing those in the middle, those with expertise that are required to cause society to function. It is possible that the only ones who are escaping the worst of illnesses are those who are in the very elite classes, but they actually do not have quite as much function in causing the world to continue. They have financial function, but no practical function. The individual that has been under discussion, someone with a great deal of money and absolutely no knowledge and no skills or abilities to serve any part of society, anywhere in the world. By society, we are not speaking only of this land. Yes, we are speaking of the world. He cannot farm for food. He does not have the knowledge to perceive any form of medical action as small as where is there a Band-Aid to put on the cut. He has no knowledge of nutrition and health. He has no concept and does not want to know about shortages in food and water and other basic necessities. He does not know how to create living space. He is not a builder. He does not know how to do that. He knows how to create large edifices, but not to live in, and he doesn't actually do the building. He hires people to do that, as he has always done. This is the symbol. So he needs to be here because he is the ultimate symbol of all that is wrong.
Yeah.
And everyone who follows him is the ultimate symbol of those who have surrendered their power completely to an individual who is totally wrong. In ancient times, they might have said he was a cult leader and he is the son of the devil and all are following him, etc. Yes? So, no matter what happens in this nation state, when the governmental choices are made, there is going to be disruption. There is going to continue to be two sides acting against each other. And that is going to continue to go on, even if the entire election process becomes the ideal outcome. You understand? Even in that case, because there will be those on that side calling for more aggressive reaction to what has happened, and those who are trying to say, well, no, we cannot go that way because that would be wrong, in which case they leave themselves open to more of the other side. It is not going to be peaceful. There is no more peaceful in that way. There will never be going back to the way it was. It will never be the way it was. There is going to have to be a new, what you would call normal. The wisest beings, if they are in professions where that affects them, will start to immediately think of ways to function under a new normal situation. Don't wait for it to go back. It will not. And yet many businesses still rely on some aspect of that normalcy. Well, they were all going to have to find a way to live in the new normal, which probably means many businesses are going to never be as rich as they once were, never as powerful as they once were, because it will not be possible. As a beneficial side effect, a considerable number of the population on this planet will not be around. And there is a very desperate need, as you know, for this planet to shed itself of some of the human species beings who inhabit it. And have always been an arrogance in human beings that believed that they could control all things. And this is an example of one of the many things they cannot control. If you do not behave yourself and you cause extreme energy misplacement in the global ecology, you will feel the effects of it. And if you decide, oh, we made a mistake, you are not going to be able to correct it just by saying that. There is a long process of correction. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it is simply that which is. There are too many beings on this planet. Everyone knows. If it doesn't affect them directly on top of themselves, they don't think about it. But the planet knows. And if you are going to hopefully not have any more giant world wars, then it will find another way to get rid of you. It has been said that the number of people, the population of the planet that has died from this illness, much less may continue to die, far exceeds the deaths that have occurred in certain wars when you begin to put it together. The prediction is it will go higher. Yes, Elizabeth, it will go much higher. It is sad but true that there are individuals who, separate from any economic division, are much more susceptible to the most aggressive effects of the current virus. They have, you might say, an overactive system for protecting themselves from illness because they do not fit into the norm, and that overactive system loses control in the face of this virus. And it basically turns on itself, which is not much different from other diseases that are already well known on your planet, where the tendency is of the body to attack itself. These are the hardest, the most difficult to address, because it is counterintuitive to the medical community. Why is the healthy body attacking itself when it should be attacking the bad guy? Yes? And they come up with every answer they can come up with. Right now, there is no other answer than the ones they know, which is the need to create antibodies artificially in the physical body by using the vaccination process. It is the best they can do right now. The ultimate question that everybody would ask is, yes, but will we survive? Will the planet would ask is, yes, but will we survive? Will the planet survive? Yes, of course. It has survived for billions and billions of years. It just changes. Will humanity survive? Yes, but guess what? It will also have to change. Most of the change will not be physical transformation, as was once hoped, but internal transformation and societal transformation. Values, things that matter, will have to undergo a profound change. And that will have to happen with large numbers of beings. The general structure of your entire planet is that there are some who have considerably more than they need or want, and they use that to keep themselves in position of control. There is a very strong section of people in between that level and the lowest level, and they exist at all strata. Yes? Those are the ones, as always, who will be making the biggest change. The ones at the lower end will not so much change as they will either have to move into a different level or they will perish. It is just that simple. They are spiritually and karmically the willing sacrifice. Now, you know, when we say that, we are not referring to a being who says, yes, kill me now.
Yeah.
We are talking about the spiritual essence of a being that has agreed to be born into a lifetime where it knows it will be a sacrifice, because that would never work. And for those beings who feel of themselves to be somewhat enlightened or on the good guy's side, the progressive, many of them, the younger ones, will begin to wonder if they should have a family, if they should bring children into the kind of world that is coming, that we see the beginnings of now. And the answer would have to be yes, you must, only to the degree that you can be comfortable with financially and in other ways. But that is the only way the stronger spirits come into the world to battle and cause the change with a more evolved understanding. You know, there have been so many young ones born in the last decade whose awareness is born in the last decade, whose awareness is far more profound at their tender ages than most of the adults around them.
Yep.
And they demonstrate it regularly with acts of kindness and generosity and sophisticated understanding that, again, surpass the adults around them, and which their parents or friends can completely understand. They say, well, we never taught them that. No, of course you didn't. They came in with it. But you allowed what they came in with to blossom. And when you perceived it, you encouraged it and you fed it. That is also important. You cannot always determine what kind of plant is going to grow from the seed you've put in the earth. But as it grows, what can you do? You give it water, you give it food, you tend to it, and let it become what it always is. Moisture.
She's managed to do quite well today.
Yes, it is. It speaks very directly to every question. And it is the renewal of the optimism, the hope, the belief that essentially that which is right and good will triumph, that needed, shall we say, a bit of propping up. More moisture. Oh, well, we are prepared. So, humankind will continue forward. Progress will continue to be made. It will be more of a struggle than it used to be. It cannot stop. The battle, the struggle must never stop. The message that must be passed on from every adult to every child and every grandchild is, just because we won this battle doesn't mean it's won. You must continue to fight. The education which only some parents gave to their children, who are now themselves the grandparents, was far too little in many cases. For it is they who let the entire side down. People in the age bracket of yourself in this unit. And what do you have? You have those that completely understood the nature, and you have those that had no concern whatsoever and just took everything that was given to them. And right now you are seeing what happens when those who are focused on spirituality and understanding have also no knowledge or practical understanding of the way in which the physical world functions. What have we always said, Elizabeth, to you and this unit? You are walking the line in between.
Yep.
You know there are times you lean one side and times you lean another, but the key, the exercise, the absolute major focus of your existence in this lifetime is to walk the line and keep the two sides in complete balance, recognizing that you are a physical being on this planet, but that is not the real reality. You function with it, but that is not the real reality. You function with it, but your real reality is that which is not in the material plane, and you recognize that they must walk in balance with each other because they cannot exist without each other. Some people with whom you are acquainted have never had that balance properly and did not perhaps even know it existed. They went in one direction on one side, and so they are completely lost in the physical reality. They do not perceive what is actually happening. They will discover, and it will be all the more painful for them because they will know how blind they were. For you, Elizabeth, the message is that your nature to be understanding and compassionate with those people whom you've known for a long time who may be in this situation. When they begin to awaken to the error, you may say, of their understanding, do not try to soften that blow. Do not try to make it easier. Let them feel whatever they have to feel when they recognize what they were saying and doing and believing in. Because this is a lesson that does not actually take unless the full experience of it is owned. You can imagine for yourself how it might be to awaken one day and realize that everything you had been doing for however many years was in complete opposition to everything you said you believed in and everything that you valued. It is a shaking up of one's perception of oneself. This unit had a small version of that. This unit is immediately acknowledging, yes, it is true. You used to say something about her getting on a horse in Australia, getting back on, yes. And that the interpretation of events that caused the shock, which caused this unit to so completely withdraw on, and not to get back on that path even when it recognized the misunderstandings it had of that time. That is the level of shock we are talking about.
Okay.
It can be so dramatic that a person with much to offer withdraws completely into the shadows and refuses to exchange. It is appropriate, as you did with this unit, to see if you can come up with an idea that might help, but you cannot make it the help happen. Yes? You understand?
Yeah.
But it is survivable. Yes? Yes.
It's hard work, but we got through it.
And the lesson once learned is never forgotten.
Mm.
And even if actions are, and the lesson once learned is never forgotten.
Mm.
And even if actions are taken which are reminiscent of the past, they are not taken in ignorance. They are taken with full knowledge of why they are being enacted, what it means, and what the karmic result might be. But being conscious of it, it changes the way in which it is done. So it is not extreme.
Yeah.
Because when your survival is on, standing right there, when your need to survive is the question, you have to do what the society requires that you do to survive. But you may not convince yourself that it is okay, that it is not what it is.
Yeah.
Know what it is, and should the time arrive when you really do not need it, you don't take it. You back off. That this is the nature of the lessons that are being learned, Elizabeth. This is what your friends are going to be going through.
Yeah.
This is what people who you have loved and respected in the past, who are now so lost to you because of the direction they're in, that it's almost inconceivable. They are going to have this kind of transformation. And you remember, it was not easy. It was a deep shock when it was recognized. It took a long time for all of the little aspects of it to find a place.
Mm.
And then, in some way, the being picks themselves up and begins